Hello and welcome to Arsenal Above All. Happy bank holiday to you all watching in the UK. In the UK, obviously we've been celebrating the King's coronation and obviously enjoying a bank holiday. Obviously Sunday, Super Sunday. What do you normally do on a Sunday? You have a nice Sunday roast, and Super Mick Arteta's red and white demolition boys have turned their hand to the culinary sector, the hospitality sector, because man, they cooked up a wonderful meal. They got a nice big bird, a magpie, and they absolutely roasted it. And I've got two of my old boys here with me tonight. They've got their plates, they've got the napkins ready, they've got the cutlery, they're going to tuck in tonight. I've got the gravy and the jerk sauce ready. And I've got Neil, possible champions, with me first tonight. How you doing, my friend?
Well, it's still possible, so I can't be cheeky and say champions elect anymore, but possible. So why not? But I'm great. Thank you so much for having me back. It's been a while, and so glad to be speaking to yourself and of course the lovely gent just below us there. So yes, thank you.
Yes, the mystery man is back. Well, obviously, welcome back, Neil. It's good to have you back on the show again. And the international man of mystery. If he's not, he's just come back from Miami, just from private jet on the G7, watching the F1 over there. It's Bez Kelmendi. How you doing, my friend?
Don't tell people my secrets first of all. Come on. We don't people start questioning me where I've been the last 2 months, though.
You okay, though? Thanks, guys, for coming on. Really appreciate it. So, obviously, yes, Sunday. Tough game. Obviously, after the disappointment of the City result a few weeks back, we've bounced back with the Chelsea win midweek, winning 3-1, and Martin Odegaard coming up clutch and getting 2 goals, and Jesus getting the first for us. So that set us up nicely going into this one, which everybody, I think we all, to a man, weren't particularly confident. Just based on Newcastle's form the last couple of games and the amount of goals that they've scored, big results they've had over the last couple of weeks going for the Champions League. So Neil, just obviously on the performance in the first half, it was a bit. We seemed to start well, and then obviously they hit the post after early on as well, and then it went to the penalty decision, which wasn't a penalty, but some people, especially Alan Shearer, seems to be pretty upset about it, that something that wasn't a penalty wasn't given as a penalty. But anyway, that's another thing. But Neil, in terms of the performance and obviously going back, were you happy with the lineup? Obviously, would you have gone differently? Because obviously a lot of people, myself probably, was thinking Partey was going to come back. But what was your thoughts on the on the actual lineup and obviously the start of the game, obviously in the atmosphere, and obviously a place where we suffered last year?
Yeah. Can I just quickly say one thing? Obviously, the run of 4 games where we got only 3 points out of 12 was so gut wrenching and so disappointing. I'm only just bringing that because I haven't been on for a while, and I was really struggling to get over that. Really struggling because I had such high hopes for this season, and I'm still, as I said, it's still not over until it's over. But it really dented us big time. And my worry and concern from that was, are they now going to completely capitulate and even risk not even coming second? And it was hard to kind of as from a personal point of view, really remotivate myself into that line of kind of, this is a great season. What a wonderful season this has been for us. What progress we've made, etc. And it was just the mindset at the time. And what happened was going to that Chelsea game and just soaking up the atmosphere, the banter with the Chelsea fans, and the way we dismantled them was so satisfying, especially doing the double over them and Tottenham in the same season. And I kind of it ended up being quite honestly one of my favourite games of the season, believe it or not. Even though it looked highly unlikely now that we're going to win the title, but having that again, having that feeling back again, was so refreshing. In the sense that, you know, we've shown that, and it's something, there's a pattern that's occurred all throughout the whole season, the character and the strength of this team, where they've had a knock and it's not taken long to pick themselves up again and, you know, fight back. And I really enjoyed that, honestly, wholeheartedly. I just loved the whole night out, the whole experience. So going into this game, everyone, you know, we're thinking it's a tough, of course, it's a tough tie. So many people have come undone at Newcastle. They're growing in stature. Their last 3 or 4 games have been unreal. You know, they've just smashed teams apart. I mean, Tottenham, they took apart in 5 seconds. You know, and again, that was lovely to see, but maybe not so much for us thinking, well, God, we got them on the horizon coming up. But I had a little bit of renewed confidence that actually, following on from the Chelsea game, you know, hopefully that's picked the boys up again for another small run, which we need. We need to win our remaining games. It's as simple as that, to stand any small chance of a miracle. So with the lineup, I didn't have any problems with it, to be honest. I looked at it. The only thing that I'm a little bit disgruntled with, guys, and maybe you agree or disagree, is the consistent omission of Trossard starting. I think Trossard has been exceptional. Ever since January, he's been absolutely exceptional. And because it's Jesus and Jesus is Jesus, I just feel he's missing out. But to be honest with you, I mean, I look at Saka, and as much as I laud the guy and how much I think he's just an incredible player, I am starting to feel he's not quite the same player he was for the first 7 or 8 months or 7 or 8, 78 or 70 to 80% of the season. I just don't think he is. And that's completely understandable considering how much football he has played non-stop, literally, for the last 2.5, 3 years. It's just been constant for him with England, with international duty and with the club. And I just feel he's a little bit burnt out. That's my personal thing. But I just feel a little bit sorry for Trossard. I wasn't so sure about Partey, like you just mentioned, Michael. I actually didn't mind Jorginho coming in because I thought, you know, he may have his weaknesses, but one thing he does share is experience. And I think, and it showed throughout the game, which obviously we're going to talk about. And I actually feel that he was the man of the match, is that despite the great performances from Odegaard and Xhaka and even Kiwior and Ramsdale, I thought Jorginho with his intelligence, I thought he was just wonderful in that game. So really the only one that was bugging me was Trossard. There is this big talk about Zinchenko. He's not defending well, and maybe Tierney should be given the chance that he so desperately misses out on. But other than that, I thought I wasn't surprised at the team selection, to be fair. And we all knew what we were going to get with the atmosphere. And I was a little bit concerned with the beginning where they hit the post. I thought, oh God, that's just going to make the crowd go mental. But I think the turning point was the penalty for us, and that was not a penalty. I mean, do you know what? I would even suggest that even if it did hit his arm, the poor lad did everything he could to make sure that he kind of used his leg or any part of his body to cover his arm. If you look at what he's doing, he's trying his best to move his arm out of the way. So that for me would not be an unnatural position if it hit his arm, but it clearly hit his thigh, clearly. Yeah. So there's no doubt in mind that that wasn't a penalty. And I'm glad that VAR, although they took so long over it, which is ridiculous, it did come to the right decision with the ref going to the monitor and checking it out. So I'm so pleased with that. And I think after that, we played a brilliant game. But again, I'll let you guys, we can all share our thoughts on that. But I thought it was a great strength test of character, which we answered yet again. I was so pleased with it.
Yeah, it's funny. It's true though with the VAR call. It just seems that it takes so much longer for our checks to be done than other teams, doesn't it, Bez? I mean, that, you know, after seeing it maybe the second time, you can see that hits his thigh, and the ball obviously goes away. It doesn't hit his arm, and again, it's just maddening how whenever we have a check or whatever, it just seems to take forever. I mean, in terms of the start, Bez, as Neil said, it seemed like after that little shake-up and that situation, Arteta obviously seems to have got a few of them over, had a chat again, and then Odegaard came to play. and literally grabbed the game by the scruff of the neck. What was your thoughts on how we reacted to that sort of, not reprieve? I wouldn't say it was a reprieve because obviously it was kind of. But what was your thoughts on how we took control of the game after that moment, Bez?
The folks in our team, and I'll say this as a true football fan of good years following it, it was a perfect piece of poetry, the way Odegaard just took that ball again. I'll tell people I meet as well. He might be an Arsenal fan, but you have to appreciate what this man does as a captain. You know, he's the one who just literally just kicks in the net. He goes on for the glory, any corner, any distance. He's not bothered. He just kicks it in. And I enjoy the thrill that he seemed to be, okay, yes, so far, possibly, and I've been slated about this the last few days, but possibly, as Neil said, we have a chance. But to see a captain that's clearly only in his first full season, a captain of Arsenal, so calm, so gracious, even that celebration alone, I just love the guy to pieces, to come from such a long way, from a Real Madrid team that clearly he was, let's say, hurt from a young age, as we know. We spoke about this before. And to come to Arsenal, be a captain, and now he's got almost, well, he's our top goal scorer, but for a midfielder, central midfielder, I've not seen the likes of him in an Arsenal shirt in God knows how many years. It's beautiful. It's just basically, if he keeps this up till next season, he gets a good, let's say this, a good striker that can understand him, because I think him and Martinelli do understand each other, but sadly, I have nothing against Jesus, but I do feel sadly Jesus needs to realize too as well, when it's time to be on the bench, when the team really needs someone else, let's say someone like Trossard, he needs to realize too, it's not because you're Jesus, he came from certainly a team full of bags of trophies, all that money involved, as we know, from those oiling business. But I just feel like he needs to realize too that rotation in his team seems to be important. Like Martinelli was having a bit of a rough patch near the end of, I think, winter, done a world of good. Again, I can talk like Neil said about Saka too. He's had a burnout because even he deserves better respite. Not that he's not playing great, but he's been burned out. You can see, even yesterday, he tried. But it's like the wall will not break. It's like the man needs basically a rest, because he's going to have another season. Clearly now he's going to be more mature. We know he's a great finisher, great team player, but I just feel somebody playing needs to realize too, and I've said it before too, rotation is important for our squad. Will be for a big game, will be any game, it will benefit us, because you can see it literally lifts the players to a different level, which we're not seeing this in years for our team.
Yeah, I totally agree, because it's funny how we were all talking a few weeks ago about how it's got to be, we've got to make sure Partey is fit. We need Partey to make sure he's there for the whole running the games, and now it's turned out that it isn't someone like that we needed. For this particular game, it was someone who could control it. Because for me, I mean, as you said, like Jorginho, the way he was controlling the game, the way he was communicating. I mean, because people have made reference of that before, on how he was like that when he's on the touchline, when he's warming up, when he's not even involved. There was one incident, I can't remember what game it was, but Arteta made all these substitutions and Jorginho wasn't getting on, but he still was on the touchline doing his warm up, and he's still coaching whoever it was on that side, Martin Odegaard or whoever it was, still coaching, and he was doing that all through the game, and he was all pointing, and it was almost like he is like the actual definition of a player coach. He is that definition of it, because you're usually that someone that's kind of back in the old days, player manager sort of thing, but he literally is someone who knows the game so much. He's so experienced, and he's imparting that to people. And there was a couple of times where I think after the first goal, he was with Odegaard. We was all in the huddle again like we normally do, and he's there talking, and everybody you can see he's looking at him. Whereas you compare that to before when we went 2-0 down against Bournemouth, and Zinchenko was trying to get everybody in, and some players didn't seem like they wanted to listen to him. Weren't looking at him and stuff like that. Whereas Jorginho, everybody was looking at him, and Odegaard takes the lead from that. And the fact that you've got to tip your hat to Arteta that he saw that in that sort of hot atmosphere, or Newcastle, and how physical and everything they were, that he got someone like that to control the play, because he was just dictating everything. And again, that just rubbed off on Xhaka, who was outstanding as well. And Odegaard. And we'll talk about the referee and the Newcastle physicality, because again, that boils down to the officials, Neil, allowing things like that to go. You know, I think Grimaris did about 5 fouls. One which was a scrape down the Achilles of Saka, which was accidentally on purpose. He did, you know, and he's very clever in that regards. There was a couple from Fabian Shah. You know, he took out 2 Arsenal players in one go, and the referee was just allowing this to go. You know, this kind of physical stuff, and you know, and people kind of praise Newcastle of their effort and everything like that. But when you boil it down to it, is that, you know, when things weren't going their way, they just resorted to that. The whole thing where with Wilson and Xhaka, where he didn't get a touch all game because Kivior and Gabriel pretty much had him in their pockets, and he saw Xhaka on the floor and he decided to do something to try and get the crowd up to show he's a big man, and it all rumbles over with Gabriel Jesus with Trippier. I mean, for me, what people haven't mentioned, Neil, is there was a tackle in the second half which Dan Burn did on Saka, and for me that was an Eduardo tackle. If Saka, if you watch the tackle again, he catches him on his shin. He actually catches Saka high up on his shin, where Eduardo was caught. If Saka hadn't skipped out of that tackle, if he had planted his foot on the ground, it would have been another Eduardo. And you could see with Burns' reaction when he went down, he wasn't telling Saka to get up or whatever. He knew he sort of was that close to getting him really badly injured. And that's what we've all said. I mean, again, as you said with Saka, he's been battered, he's been played so many games. What is it going to take a big injury again for an Arsenal player before we get protection? Because yesterday it was great that we stood up to the fight and the provocation and everything, but we only had to kind of do that because the referee wasn't doing his job, right?
I firstly want to applaud the boys for the way they stood up to them. It's quite one thing you just said there, which really kind of resonated with the Liverpool game, where we were outplaying them football-wise. They didn't stand a chance. If it had been a football match, pure football match, we would have won at Anfield. But because they knew that they had to resort to other tactics, and they did that obviously you can blame Xhaka as well for that, for getting involved and getting sucked in. But the point is, you know, it's their way of trying something different to get the crowd on the side and maybe change the management of the whole, or the dynamic of the whole game through those means and turn the tide. And I think that's exactly what you were saying is what Newcastle players were trying to do. But it was disgusting, the amount of physicality and the fact that no yellow cards were shown on some tackles where you think, you're absolutely right. The one on Saka, did he even get a card for that? I don't recall. I'm not sure.
He got a card
for
that. He got a card for that.
But you're right. That was so close to being a catastrophe. It really was.
It was really, really close.
Yeah, I agree with you. And it's just absolutely disgusting. But you know what? The sad thing is, Michael, you're saying, will it take something like that for us to get the protection that we deserve, especially Saka? I can't see it changing. I don't think Arsenal are ever going to get the protection. I just don't see it happening, and I don't know what it is. And people might think, no, you're just talking rubbish. Why do you always think it's against Arsenal? Other teams suffer from it as well, and yes, they do. But as I said before, I can only speak about Arsenal because that's the team I follow and that's the team I watch. So I'm only speaking as an Arsenal fan, and I can't see it changing at all, not one bit, not one iota. And it is absolutely disgusting that I've always said that. This season it feels, and because of previous as well, that we're not playing 11 men on that pitch. We're always playing 12 because we've got the officials. If they're not against us, they're certainly not for us in the sense of the protection that some of the boys deserve. You know, the way the England boys, the darling England boys like the Gascoignes, the Shearers, the Kanes always get protection. But Saka's also, he's probably the most significant one now of the England squad. What does he get? Nothing, absolutely zero. And it just really boils my blood. But taking a positive from there, I thought we stood up to them so well. And what I loved about the game, Michael and Bez, was, Arteta has been criticised that, he just plays one style of game and you can't change it when things are not quite going, our way. But what he did, and I think Jorginho, were right, was a significant piece of that jigsaw in that, and very instrumental in that, was especially, I don't know if you just to digress slightly, did you see Jorginho's interview? It was very, very good. And he said, you can't always play, as much as we'd like to play pretty football, we can't always do that. Sometimes we have to change it up and play like this in order to hopefully it will lead to the ends will justify the means, if you like. And the way he was speaking, you touched on something else earlier, Michael. You said player coach. And when I was listening to that interview, I thought, I wonder if this guy is going to follow in Arteta's footsteps. The way he was speaking, the knowledge that he had of the game, the way he was directing the players and whatnot, I wonder if he'll do something similar to what Arteta's done and maybe become a coach as well after he hangs up his boots. I wouldn't be surprised. But I just felt that we had a plan B yesterday, which sometimes we have, even us fans, even us personally, us lot on this pod and the other pods that we're on, say, why doesn't Arteta change it up? But you know what is also good about it? Changing it up was one thing, but we still played our football when we could. We stopped Newcastle doing what they tried to do, especially with the defence. And a big shout out to Kieran. I thought he was outstanding. Yeah, he's made us feel that, although Saliba is still a huge loss, it's kind of plugged the hole. It's mitigated it to quite an extent, because his two performances, I think, have been great. I don't think he's done much wrong, to be fair. And that's really promising for the next few seasons ahead. But I felt that we still played our game as well when we were allowed to. We made some good moves. It was a shame.
Great chances.
Yeah, and it's a shame that some of the finishing could have been a little bit better. Saka, Martinelli, it could have been a little bit better. But at the end of the day, we were creating chances, which is the main thing. So we were doing a bit of both. We had a good balance to deal with not only the crowd's oppression, but the style of physicality that Newcastle were employing in that game. So I really hold my hats up to them and think that there is such a maturity. If you compare what happened with Newcastle last season to this season, that's one hard piece of evidence to show how much this team has progressed in 12 months. It's amazing.
Absolutely. Obviously, that's, you're touching on the what Arteta did in the morning of the game, where we showed them some of the footage from the All or Nothing documentary, which Ramsdale said, and it was about revenge. And I'm happy that he's using those things to get the guys going. He's done it before. Obviously, we saw with Tony when he showed him the tweet. I'm sure he's done something similar with when we lost to Tottenham last year as well. And because that's what we want as fans. It's funny when they interview players and they talk about, is it revenge, and they say no, it's not. I mean, just be honest, it is, isn't it? That's what it's about. That's what we want. It'll be Newcastle's turn next year. Obviously, they're going to want to try and get revenge on us when that's how it is. But it was great that after that sort of scare with the penalty shout, we took control in that first half. And it's just a shame that we didn't go in 3 or 4-0 up. Obviously, they had a couple of chances as well. After that, Ramsdale made a couple of strong saves. So it's one of those. It was fine lines in certain instances, but it was just the whole way of the way the referee allowed Newcastle to get away with some of their dark arts. And one thing I noticed as well was whenever they made a foul, they tried to pick the player up. I don't know if you noticed that. Whenever they made a foul, they tried to offer the hand to pick the player up to kind of say either to the referee, "Oh, look, didn't mean it. I'm being gentlemanly," or "He's not really hurt because look, I'm pulling him up," and they were trying that. So they Eddie Howe, he's sort of choir boy, looks, and he's English obviously, so he gets a lot of passes and stuff like that. But we know what they're like. We saw what they were like at the Emirates Stadium, and we're jumping ahead. Jumping ahead a bit, but obviously there's a lot of talk about the way we sort of managed the game and the way the time wasting, or whatever you want to call it, on game management. But obviously, Neil, it was such a momentous game and frustrating experience that I think Neil forgot that he was actually at the 0-0 game in the Emirates because Nick Pope took so long to take goal kicks and they took so long to, it's probably like watching Stoke, just the ball in the air from set pieces. They were doing it again. There was a set piece, I think there was like 30 minutes on the clock and they had a free kick on the halfway line. And most modern teams or footballing teams like to play it short and try and build an attack, but no, not Newcastle. They lobbed everybody onto the edge of the box. Trippier just fired it long into the air. It wasn't injury time, boys. It wasn't 96 minutes. This was like in the middle of the game, so they had a lot of time to do other stuff, but that was their tactics. So pretty, I think I said they're just a rich Stoke at the moment, the way that they're playing. But just showing you this, because obviously Eddie Howe was a bit moaning about this, and I think this says it all. Average delays before goal kicks. Newcastle are top of the list in the amount of time it takes before they restart play. 36.8 seconds. Everton second, 33.1, and then Brentford and Bournemouth. And obviously we know what that's about because we've played all those teams recently. Well, on this side of the year, we should say. And it's there in black and white, which is appropriate for Newcastle with their colours and everything. And then there's another slide where average delay before we start in play again. And Brentford are top. Obviously, we know what that was like when they came to the Emirates as well and what they were doing. And obviously, they're in Newcastle again, 29.9 seconds. Can't see Arsenal anywhere. Can't see Arsenal anywhere in that list. So that's just a little aside to say, about Newcastle and their short memories. In talking about Odegaard, sorry, gents, just to say he's scored 15 non-penalty goals so far this season in the Premier League. Cesc Fabregas had the record for an Arsenal player, which was 12. The record is held by is 17, and Matthew Le Tissier has that, and also Neil's good mate Dele Alli has got all that. So there's even more reason for Odegaard to break that record. He's got 3 games to do it. So let's hope he does that. gets that.
Getting one over Dele Alli, that will make me so happy. Almost be as good as
So obviously we go in at half time, 1-0 up. Odegaard misses a massive chance to make it 2-0. Start the second half and they hit the post again. It's almost like the same thing that happened in the first half. And then Ramsdale makes a good save from Fabian Schär. And obviously, what you expect in the Premier League game, Bez, is the home team will try and force their way back into the game. And obviously, we soaked that up. Was you happy with that? With the way we sort of stuck in and not collapsed as we've seen, the last couple of away games?
As the slogan says in the Arsenal history, victory through harmony, because simply they tried to play us in a way, and I noticed that Fabian Schär, I thought he's a decent, respectable player, but he was 2-0 down as a team unit, because you see the unit was basically, Newcastle unit was literally dropping off. He's doing dirty fouls when you don't need to do on your team to do. This one, I'm talking as a football fan right now, okay? And people again will say, oh yeah, you're just being biased. I'll be biased because simply if your team's losing 2-3-0, why do you need to go and do dirty tackles to hurt your team more? Like try and basically command your team, not hurt your team with all the teams winning. This is what I don't understand in this football, so to say, modern day society. I don't remember growing up seeing Arsenal say, let's say winning classic games, play classic football, I should say, and simply will get kicked, and then somehow the other team hurts more. I feel like, yeah, but if you're losing, you need to make stupid tackles, try and hurt other players. It's like, get over yourself. Try and push your team for the next game that we did. Okay, yes, against City we did terribly bad. Again, the West Ham game hurt. The Liverpool game hurt even more. And that weekend we met each other, as we say. But that's for another topic. But basically, I just feel like, why is it this again? I was just watching with great pleasure. Okay, yes, we have maybe a little chance if football goes on our side. Again, let's see what will happen. But I just feel like I was just observing, thinking, Newcastle players, we time waste because you simply You did that for 90 minutes plus at a time in Emirates. We're not blind, and especially that picture alone. Like Eddie just came on, and somehow he's trying to keep the ball, trying to basically rattle them. He gets kicked a little bit. Shea gets a yellow card. Now he gets a yellow card. I feel as a referee, surely Eddie's showing passion because he just came onto the game. He saw, you know what, we got this in the bag. You know, I'm going to toy with them. So be it. This is the beauty of football. But the ugly side of football is, as the other opposing team, you're losing, but you're trying to hurt the other team. What does that give you as a football team? Or even your football fan base? You know, I don't remember Arsenal. Let's say, again, I'm not going to roll back every game where we had, you know, bad times. But let's say we're losing by a big scoreline. I don't see our players going for other people's legs and trying to hurt our players. And I'm sorry, but where's this class? Is, you know, permanent gone anymore now? Surely you saw like the Chelsea players from also in the highlights. I didn't see them doing it, but somehow the Newcastle are so big now. All this filthy rich, you know, bags of money, shall I say, waiting for them to be used now for their next chapter. I'm sorry, but again, what makes you think I enjoy it as a football fan? You clearly trying to damage my team when you're losing. Okay, when you're winning, do your thing. Like we did. The penalty again, thank God there's some justice. Okay, it took a bit of a while, but thank goodness. So the whole ground was a penalty. I'm thinking, are you mad? It's 21st century. Of course you're going to be checked. And thank God it did get checked. But at the same time, as even a football fan base, they're booing us. I'm thinking, hold on a second. You guys have a memory of a goldfish, for the love of God. Again, I'm not here to swear tonight because it's my first pod back. But I just feel like, for the life of me, why do you want to boo our team? Because simply your team did it for 90 minutes. Our team, you know what, played our game. You bullied us in our home game. And you tried to bully us again yesterday. But again, karma, doesn't it?
Yeah, it was a classic. Yes, spot on, Bez. It was a classic case of a team or getting a taste of their own medicine and not liking it. You know, they've got ideas above their station. You know, because you know they're a big club anyway. You know, I've been to Newcastle, I've been to the ground and everything. Massive club, massive city. You know, one team city, and they've drank the Kool-Aid. You know, they've got to the Carabao Cup final. Everyone's saying, "Oh, this is only the beginning. We'll be back next year." Like it's literally set in stone. I mean, you know, okay, they're the richest club in the world. They're effectively, you know, they're a yo-yo club. You know, they normally flirt with relegation after every couple of years, and then they go down and then they come back up again. They've won the lottery, so that's probably not going to happen again. They're not going to, you know, flirt with relegation. They're going to be a mainstay. We've probably got to wait maybe 5 or 6 years before it's who's going to win the league. This is it going to be City or Newcastle, City or Newcastle, City, and then, you know. Because that's basically what it's leading towards. It's going to lead towards, sadly, unless you have a young, you know, rookie manager with a young team, a hungry team that maybe, you know, fight against the odds and maybe pull off a sensational title win. But yeah, I think you're spot on, Bez. They've got ideas above this station. They believed all the hype. They got taught levels by a team that were better than them, and then they didn't like it, so they started doing stupid stuff. Like Fabian Shah was a disgrace. The elbow he put into Jesus, I can't understand how that's not checked. That goes on my point where.
Interrupt you, though. More surely, Joe Linton included. Surely, man. You see the Xhaka better game than you. You know what? I'll just whack you. Same as Callum Wilson. You just decide to play for what now? I'm sorry. I'm sounding angry with my Arsenal hard talking. You see this as a brother, and I'm speaking now as a family here, as a football family actually. You silly man. You see your team's losing, at the same time you think, you know what? I'll just elbow him, and make myself feel better. But your team's losing, man. At least I love what Xhaka did. He didn't react when Callum Wilson had a little moment with him. Because now I'm really a bit fed up with these so-called big players. You just think overnight you're going to be a big lad, you know. Surely they were flirted with relegation a few years ago. Some of these lads. Again, I'm not here to disrespect them. I literally sound like Arteta when I'm really on fire because I saw what Callum Wilson tried to do to Xhaka, and he said, you know, Xhaka's like, I can read his lips saying, "Just don't touch me." Like he tried to shake his hand. Like, what are you trying to do to shake his hand? You're trying to be dirty. You're a striker. Striker, your job is to either defend if you want to, or you're there to score goals to win your team to these games. That's what we love to see. as any striker in the league. As long as you're not, I'm sorry to say, back in the day, not now, but certain Rui van Nistelrooy, I used to get my nerves as a young kid. I just felt like now Callum Wilson, I think he's slowly becoming a bit like him. You know, I try to rattle this opposing team. I'm a striker. I'm thinking, man, you flirted with relegation in Bournemouth many years ago, and you never ever took that thing for granted. But yet now you got some humble pie in your side because you got a manager who will back you up because he knows you in and out from other teams.
Yeah.
You're like, what? Whack. I'm sorry. What football is this? I'm sorry. Yeah, violence is acceptable to a degree, but constantly for God's sake, the whole game.
And the commentary is disgusting. That all of them just brushed over all those challenges. The elbow, you know, the one that you mentioned earlier on Saka, which could have been catastrophic. You know, it's just brushed over, and that's what makes me rile, because when it's other teams, they'll say, "Oh, that's a really dangerous tackle. Oh, hang on a minute, he's got away with that one." No. Ours are just always brushed over, and the one on the Nketiah at the end, I'm sure Trippier just pushed him. He just pushed him for no reason. So that Nketiah reacted, and they both get yellows. And to be fair, the commentary did say on that one that it's a bit strange that Nketiah got the card as well. So
it should have been Shah. Yeah, why is the person that instigated? He should be the one that should get the yellow card, because you know if he doesn't push him, Nketiah doesn't push him back, sort of thing. So. But just absolute nonsense from them. You know, they just lost their heads because again they believed all the hype and the PR, and they thought obviously they were going to do the same thing to us, what they did to Tottenham a couple of weeks ago when they got battered 6-1, and that wasn't to be. And obviously we've got to rate Xhaka for obviously keeping his head, as you said, Bez. For that block he made on Joe Willock just before we ended up going down and scoring the second goal, and a key person in that was Kieran Tierney, who intercepted the pass, the ball, played it I think to Jorginho, who played it to Gabriel Jesus, and then played it to Martinelli. So a couple of things on that, Neil. It's fantastic for me to see Arteta make that change and play Tierney as an old-fashioned left-back. There's none of that inverted stuff. He was literally playing out there on the left because he realised what happened the last couple of away games. Zinchenko's obviously gone off form a little bit like Partey, but isn't it great that he's come in? He's had that contribution, and he's pretty solid. I thought Tierney really good. And does that again give you food for thought in terms of going forward? Again, is it going to be someone coming in from the cold, I should say, who's going to be the one required, especially against Brighton at the weekend, to just help us over the line, at least to win these next 3 games, and then just see what happens elsewhere. But it was, I thought, a frustrating game from Martinelli. I think he tried; he was on the edges a bit, but wasn't that a great way to just kill him off, Neil, right at the end? And the person that scored the own goal, bit of karma as well.
Go on, Bez. Oh, I think we need to say something.
I enjoyed this Martinelli rubbish, and he waited for it. Because planning in my head when I was watching, because I had a barbecue in my uncle's, and literally I was like, you know what? I'll watch this second half keen interest. While about Martinelli, he literally waited for the team to arrive. I only did against Inter Milan in 03 or 04, if I'm correct. Literally, like, you know what? He didn't want to pass anyone. He just took the liberty, and he drew Shah in, he drew him, and Shah was like, you know what? I'm the big lad from Switzerland, I know what to do. And he just puts his toe there, in you go. Nick Pope was like, what are you doing? I'm thinking, yeah, because that's what you get. Again, karma will come back to bite in your backside, and then justice prevails once again, which is like, thank you very much. Happy Sunday to myself, all my gooners in the world,
Can't follow that, Michael. Sorry.
So be it. So fire burn inside again. People, you've got nothing left. You've got no fire now. As a fan right now, I'll speak from the heart of the Arsenal fan base. Literally, the way we did. I'm sorry, Neil, if I ran your parade, I did that. Literally, waited. And you get that lady luck. Just rub that soap into the wound. I thought, you know what? Thank you, Martinelli. That will hurt them even more. Thank goodness. Because simply be, add this quickly. If growing up, I used to have a soft spot for Newcastle. I'm not going to lie. If Sunderland actually get promoted, I would just love them if they bring them down. Just one minute, Sunderland. Just tell them, excuse me, guys. Couple of years ago, you were not here in this position, but now because you got the money, please have some humble pie. Let's see how you're gonna feel when you get a rival team giving you a little fly in your belly, like we're doing it. They don't like it, so I hope sometimes if they do get promoted, they do the same thing. I swear to God, just keep them grounded and a bit humble. That'll be great. Honestly, what more can I say?
I love
True.
it.
Yeah, there's a good chance Sunderland could come up, and that would be interesting. But yeah, I mean, like you said, they're in a position. They've won they've effectively won the lottery there overnight. Imagine you're the richest club in the world from where they were, having someone in charge that didn't want to spend any money, and then all of a sudden, yeah, they're literally in the position they are. So yeah, they need to sort of rein it in a little bit in terms of where they think they are, and yeah, it was nice to quieten them down a little bit. And obviously, it just seems like they just couldn't take it. Alan Shearer. I think you've seen the footage of him shouting down Dermot Gallagher in the studio about the penalty decision, fuming that it wasn't given, even though everyone could see that it wasn't a penalty. Obviously, Ian Wright, if you saw the Ian Wright celebrating next to him. Yeah. And there was one point in the second goal, I think, where Shearer looks like he's looking at Wrighty and he's like, I really want to lamp you one. He
wonder if it's tainted their friendship.
Yeah, basically, yeah, spot on. And literally was looking like, and then obviously there's been some footage of stuff of a away fan being in the Newcastle end, and when that kind of happens, I think when it happens at the Emirates, I think they normally get a steward and they get the person out. But Newcastle fans did it a different way, a more energetic way in trying to get this person out, and yeah, it just seemed like they were already set to turn over another club from North London, and it didn't go their way, and they just got upset. They dumped the dummies out and they threw their expensive toys out and got upset.
I want to just put a little thing about Tierney. I mean, there's obviously Jack on purely Arsenal. He feels that maybe his time is up, and a lot of us have had those feelings, not because of anything that he's done wrong, but simply because he's just not getting first team football, which is obviously what he wants, like every player does. But I actually think he deserves it. So I think he is a very good old-fashioned kind of defender. And after seeing the couple of performances he's given us recently, because we're in the Champions League next season, I'm starting to U-turn a little bit on my thoughts on it, and I think that we do need someone like him, unless Arteta has got plans to bring in someone new in that position. Zinchenko, as good as he is, when things are going brilliantly, Zinchenko is unbelievable. What he does, his heat map, speaks for itself. He's everywhere. He's doing things. He's involved. But when it's not going so well, defensively, I don't think he's anywhere near as good as Tierney is and can be. So I think we've got to have a plan for that. Now, if Tierney wants to go and he wants regular first team football, I don't blame the lad, but it is a little bit, it's sad. It is sad, I think. That's my personal opinion. But if we can hold on to him, there's been he got a lot of praise. I saw on social media, especially on Twitter, fans were pleading with him to stay. Don't go. We need you, etc., etc. Maybe, things may change, but I think I do trust what Arteta and Edu are doing. So whatever the decision is, we'll have to just, take it as it comes, and that will be the end of it. But I think he did great. I think the little time he's had, he's done great. He's done nothing wrong. He's done what's been asked for him. It's what they say. It's on what was written on the tin. He's delivered essentially, yeah, I just wanted to give him a quick mention. The other thing I just wanted to say, which is very interesting, if we're looking at Man City, and we look at Arsenal, look how many derbies Arsenal have to play against what Manchester City have to play. That's difficult.
Yeah.
And we haven't lost one this season. We haven't lost one, which is, again, progress. If you want to look at positives for this season, that's another one. But you see, that's another thing which I guess kind of falls in their advantage because they don't have as many derbies that we do. How many London derbies do we have? It's quite a lot, isn't it? If you think about it. Mm-hmm. And if you're in any derby, I think the ante goes up just that little bit. Might not be much, but there is an increase, and it makes the game harder. So that's a plus as well. But I just want to applaud their temperament and their attitude yesterday. Absolutely phenomenal. Can't praise them highly enough for what they've done and what they had to come against as well. Brilliant.
Yeah, 100%. It's credit to that man there, obviously. I think we use the old adage, when you lose or you have a bad result or whatever, you have to learn from it. And I think you've got to say he has learned from the last couple of results, especially the few draws that we had, especially by bringing Kirior in, and even something that's like making the substitutions a little bit earlier, and the ones that we kind of wanted to see. And credit to Arteta, again, doff his cap, because obviously doff our caps to him, because again we all kind of maybe went with a more physical midfield, and maybe he's seeing now, this is a run-in. You need, what's the saying? Your attack wins your games and defense wins your championships. And maybe it's going to be someone like Tierney coming in just for these last couple of games, just to add a bit more security, because Zinchenko has become a massive defensive liability. That his defending, which led to that chance, which Isaac hit the post from the header when Murphy was. It was shocking defending, and he's turning his back to him. So that's one of the cardinal sins you don't do as a defender. You don't show your shirt number to the attacker, and then he falls over. He compounds that by falling over as well. And defensively he's just been a liability. I just think maybe Tierney comes in just for that defensive security, because I think if you look at it, the teams that we're going to play, Wolves and Forest and obviously Brighton's probably one where it's going to be obviously a game of chess, because obviously De Zerbi's a really good manager. Even though they got battered tonight, which is a really strange result, he's already talking up Sunday. He said, we're going to see, don't worry, on Sunday you're going to see the real Brighton. So again, there's going to be that response. So you're going to have to make sure you have your pieces in place. So I think Zinchenko will play again in that game because of the way that they play and the way that De Zerbi sets his teams up. But I think in the next two games, you could play Tierney and throw him in and let him have a good run at it, just to have that defensive security. Fantastic win. All we can do now is keep City honest, aren't we? Just make them win it. If they go ahead and win, if they win their remaining four, they've got to win 3 of the next 4 to win it. If they do that, then you've got to hold your hands up. We messed up with those draws, especially the Bournemouth one. And the West Ham one. The Liverpool one, you can kind of get away from it, say, okay, but it's the West Ham and the Bournemouth one, the Southampton one, sorry. But if City go ahead and do what they win their remaining games, then you got to hold your hands up. I think this is the 2 weeks where it could all change, because obviously they play Madrid tomorrow, and then Everton after that. Sorry. Everton after that, and then Chelsea, who finally won a game under Frank Lampard, and then obviously Brighton away. Who knows what state they're going to be in, if they're still going for a European place, I'm sure. Just quickly, guys, on that, where do you see, or obviously where do you think, Bez, the most likelihood of City dropping points? We need them to lose, and basically, if we're going to win all our games, we need them to lose and draw. Where do you see that happening, if you think it will?
Well, in my eyes, Everton they're a bogey team, so hopefully so be it, because Everton right now on fire. Chelsea, we don't know, because they're unpredictable, that English weather. Brighton, again, we just don't know what Brighton team will turn up. Brentford, again, you just don't know exactly what Brentford you're going to get, because he seems to be like a moment at Brighton, pardon me, so too many B's now. Brentford, they seem to be that team now who can pick themselves how big they say a certain team like United 4-0. Next we play them, we rattle them, they'll be affected, let's just drop the morale. And they just think. Now all of a sudden I feel like, so all this thing now that we expected, sadly, is a bit tricky, near the end. Like, it was there across the finish line for us, but sadly that little dip cost us. Sadly that, around the Easter period, I would say, but so be it. What can you do? I mean, it's been for me, a friend of mine asked me yesterday, and I'm sure if he's watching this, and will you give your season a rating? So I'll give it a solid 8 because simply they've really surprised us in more ways than none. You know, how far we've come in compared to last year and year before, and all these critics, all these certain players. I mean, again, we're not here to say names, but just I feel like we've come such a long way. It literally is a great feeling just to see them at least. Okay, people use the word bottle job, but at the same time, we've come a long way to challenge to challenge these teams. I won't use the word bottle job. I'll say sadly, is lack of experience. You know, one thing I want to touch on quickly before finish. I'm a big fan of Zinchenko, but I'm more of a big fan of Tierney. He's got that. I don't know. You want a left back to do your job as a left back. You know, like yesterday we saw when a defender needs to do your job to go forward, you need to learn. Look, please stay back. A team like Newcastle will hurt you. Will hurt our team. You know.
Yeah.
You know. Okay. Yes, we love Zinchenko. He's brought to us. Great, but come on, someone like Tierney, he's just no nonsense. He's a brick wall when he's on fire. I mean, when I first watching him when he first joined us, yesterday, even though he just came on. He looked like no nonsense type of guy. I hope he just stays and literally makes himself a legend. So be it. If Zinchenko sees him a threat, so be it. If you want to leave, thank you very much. Off you go because Tierney's been there longer and he's already built a little, shall we say, staple ground.
Yeah.
But again, I don't drag into too much onto this time, but I just feel like please, these players need to realize you're a team. You get dropped. You get rotated. You get maybe disciplined. Say a certain player of ours back in the few years back. But please understand that you are a team player for this club as a family that we are. You need to understand that you need to be ready when you're called upon. If you're not, like Son Jorginho did, as Neil mentioned, be a leader. You know, lead by example. Even if you're on the bench, don't sulk. Get on with it. When you can. Like so, I enjoyed this. How the fact like this is the lineup. No party. No. To the surprise, I thought, okay, fine. If you can do this more often away from home, and again, have a plan B, as we talked about before, as Neil mentioned earlier. Please continue like this. Don't break that stride. As long as the stride is in a good level, okay, we don't need to have the perfect away game, but come on, if you're winning 1-0, 2-0 away from home, or if you're comfortable, keep it there. But again, if you want to start to attack, think in your mind, stay neutral. When you're there to defend. But also, you need to close the game. Please. Be together as a unit. Don't disband. And shall we say, hurt yourself, but not us alone as fan, but you hurt your own self because the Liverpool game, I guess, was a bit of a crazy one. I just felt the West Ham was just a bit embarrassing. I just felt like, what are you doing? You're 2-0 away from home in a team that's clearly a bit languishing the relegation battle, and you let slip.
I think you're right. I think that one, obviously, as we said, I think we got complacent. But I think it touches on what Neil said about, as well as the London derby again. There was that pride element of it, aspects of it, led by Declan Rice of all people, which was to try and get us out, get something from it. Because again, you're playing for pride, and it's London derby. Neil said it, Wenger said it years ago. It's hard for the team in London to win the league because there's so many of these games, which means that little bit more than when they're playing against a team from up north, and teams generally from the south go up north and don't have that greater records away from home. And that was the only game that we've won. That game yesterday was the only game up north we've won this year. For how well we've done this season in the league, we didn't beat United. We lost to United. We lost to City. We lost to who's the other team I'm missing now? We lost to Everton. We drew with Liverpool. Leeds was the only one that up north, which we kind of top of my head that we won, but that was bloody. That second half was. I don't want to go through that again. So do you know what I mean?
We were lucky against Leeds, to be honest.
Yeah, there's something there about going that far away. So, you're spot on. But Neil, just bring you in quickly. Just looking at that again.
Yeah,
you still see where maybe there might be a bit of a glimmer.
I'll try and be as quick as possible. I think the problem is we're missing one thing here. We're missing the fact that they have to slip up twice, not just once.
Yes.
So if it had been once, it would have been a bit more hopeful and realistic. Man City slipping up twice. The only way I can see that happening is if their run I see the game against Madrid. I want it to be still. Obviously, we all do. We want it to be well in the balance, so they're focused on that for the return leg. If either one of the two teams runs away with it, then it becomes easier either way, doesn't it, for Manchester City to start focusing on the Prem. So we want that game to be in the balance, and I think that's the only way. I think that's the only hope we've got for them to be slipping up twice. But we can only take one at a time, I guess. Like we have to take our games one at a time. I don't know. I think the only slight silver lining is out of the 4 games, there 3 of them are away. Whereas the other way around for us, we got 2 against 2 in our favour, 1 away. Without trying to be too getting ahead of myself as I have done all season, I actually believe that we will win our 3 remaining games. I think we will end up on 90, so we will do our bit. With City, anything can happen. I think Everton gave us a hard time over there, as you mentioned earlier. We lost to them. I'm just hoping that they do the same thing again. I know they've been buoyed by that unexpected win, but hopefully that might work in our favour. They could be really thinking, all right, we're on a bit of a run here, because they still got to get out. They've still got to get away from the relegation zone.
Yeah.
We could see you could drop points there. And do you know where the other game I think it might happen is their last game. So it could end up being a title decider on the last day, which would be absolutely crazy, won't it? It will be. I don't know whether I'd like that.
Yeah.
One part of me thinks let them get it over and done with before, so we don't have that. But then on the other hand, you never know. It could be.
I think if we can get to, if we can get to the Wolves game with it still not decided, whether we're a point behind them still or whether it's level or we're ahead. I mean, if we can get to a position where, winning that game, win that Wolves game, and we win the league, we'll all slap your hands off of it. If we can get into that game, even a point behind still or whatever, we'll take that as well. It's going to be. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I think this is the week, the fortnight that it could all maybe switch in our favour. If they navigate Madrid and Everton, go to Everton for early kickoff as well. If they go to Everton for an early kickoff, and then they've got Madrid again, and if they get through that, and then obviously they've got Chelsea. Then again, if they do it, hold your hands up to them. They've done it before, But like you said, Neil, we have to do our job. We have to finish off the 3 games. Get 90 points and then, equal the same point total as the Invincibles, and then say, well, we was up against a state-funded machine, an oil machine, But anyway, no, we'll end on that. Thanks so much for your time, gentlemen. It's appreciated as always. Thanks to everyone who watching and sharing and spending years of knowing my wife. I was doing some advertising when she obviously goes to the ground, issuing out the business cards. She issued a few out to some Americans that came over for the last home game. So if any of them watching, thanks for taking some of your precious time to watch this. Hopefully you subscribe and like and share with your fellow Gooners that you know and come across. We'll be back hopefully maybe Sunday evening, maybe Monday to review the Brighton game and to see where we are in the table and where things stand. And it's just been a great to chat about another good result in this amazing season we've had so far. I think Neil has been he's a bit full on Magpie at the moment. I think that's probably why he's got the food poisoning he's got at the moment. So he's going to dash off to Tottenham Hotspur Stadium to do the usual number 2 that's done down there, and we'll leave it as that. Sorry to end it on the note, but we'll kind of keep things real on this show.
I'll keep the fire burning for you guys if you still need it.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
But thanks very much for your time. Thanks for watching, and let's just keep everything crossed for the next couple of weeks. I've been Michael Harris. He's been Neil Shah, Neil Possible Champions. Got to give him his correct name. And this man down here, Bez Kelmendi, the international man of mystery. He's off on the. If you want to find this man, just check on the F1 calendar, and he's going to be there. He's going to be in his G7 jet. He's going to be in the top top hotel suites and all the grid women all around. Yeah, he's the most dangerous man.
Go on, Bez.
It's really finding. But thanks so much for your time and thanks for watching. Come on, boys, let's do this. Come on, you Reds.